Hello everyone, welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today we're going to be doing another mock draft. It's going to be out of the number 6 position today. So this will be a pick that will get a little bit interesting. This is where you probably already have the top 5 guys off the board, which are usually CMC, Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Thomas, and Alvin Kamara. Sometimes you'll get Clyde Edwards-Helaire going in between there as well. Sometimes he's going to go around the 6 or 7 pick. So that's kind of where everything just shakes up, just depending on who you like at this spot. This was a draft that I did a little bit ahead of time just to give you guys another team to eyeball from this position. So we ended up with Carson Wentz, Joe Mixon, Le'Veon Bell, Chris Godwin, DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett, Mike Gesicki, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, Anthony Miller, Duke Johnson, Michael Pittman Jr., Anthony McFarland, and Paris Campbell. For just a real brief overview of this one, I took Joe Mixon first, then Godwin, DJ Moore, and I think took Tyler Lockett. Then we ended up getting Le'Veon Bell after that, and then David Montgomery. So pretty much got everything set there. We ended up with Carson Wentz as the quarterback. He's not somebody I'm particularly targeting, but Stafford went really early in this draft for some reason, and Wentz was still sitting around there. He's a solid performer, like somebody if you need to plug and play week to week, he's not going to hurt you at all. But with that being said, we obviously got a B on this one. Actually, if you click over on this tab, it'll tell you how the Fantasy Pros grade your draft as well. Pretty much with all my drafts when I've been looking at this lately, we've been getting the highest grade from Kyle Yates. Probably because he's really high on David Montgomery, and I've been getting him on a lot of my teams as well. Tags is B+ for us, and then Dan Harris is the lowest, B-. So Dan doesn't agree with us completely. But that's just 3 other opinions. This was the consensus has it as a B. With that being said, let's get started. We'll go do one live here with you guys. So CMC went first, then Kamara actually went second, which is kind of a surprise. Zeke, then Devontae Adams. So he went as the first wide receiver, then Barkley. I think with this draft, we'll just take Michael Thomas at number 6 here. Obviously, a full point PPR, so I don't really have a problem with that. A lot of the times I've been taking like Joe Mixon and hoping I get lucky and maybe Miles Sanders or Kenyon Drake fall, but they've been going at the top of the second usually, so we haven't been that lucky. It looks like we had, let's see who all went off the board here since we picked. So we had Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins actually is the 3rd wide receiver, then Julio Jones, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tyreek Hill, Miles Sanders, Joe Mixon, Kenyon Drake, Patrick Mahomes, Austin Eckler, and Chris Godwin. So both the tight ends are still out there. Running back, we're looking at Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette. We did another wide receiver, Allen Robinson, Kelly Galladay, Juju, people like that. So this might be a good draft to try to do maybe a 0 RB since both the tight ends are still there. So we could take Kelsey or Kittle. Just pretty much take your pick at this point. We'll just try Travis Kelce here. Normally I don't like taking a tight end early, but we'll see what we get here. Wasn't too bad a value at where we had him. Nick Chubb's actually out there in the 3rd round still, so maybe we look at him. Looks like wide receivers. If DJ Moore was there, I'd probably take him, and then we kind of go to that 0 RB strategy. So I think since we don't already have a running back, we're going to take Nick Chubb here. He's a little bit safer than Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones obviously has incredible upside. Finished very highly as like number 2 running back last year. Let's see who we got in the 4th round here now. So far we got Kelsey, Michael Thomas, and Nick Chubb. So we can get Le'Veon Bell, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Ingram, David Montgomery. Wide receiver, so it's Odell, and then it drops off to the next tier. So this is not too bad a position if you were going to take Odell here. I haven't really taken him yet. Let's just try taking Odell, see what happens here. So a couple of running backs came off the board there. Looked like DeAndre Swift went really early actually. And we get back here, we're at running back. Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, David Montgomery are all still there. So let's take Le'Veon Bell. Let's just see what happens here. If we get lucky, we come back with David Montgomery. And Edelman's still there. So Edelman and Montgomery are both still there. So this is kind of where we get to the point again. Edelman's usually gone by this point lately. He's the top wide receiver on the board, so I'm going to expect him to be gone. Montgomery is 2nd running back. So they'll both probably be gone by the time we pick again. For me, it's like, do you want to fill your flex spot with Montgomery here? but I believe he has the same bye week as Le'Veon Bell as well. Then we're looking at Julian Edelman, who actually has the same bye week as Michael Thomas, so that doesn't really break anything one way or another for me. If there was going to be a tiebreaker, I think we'll go Edelman here. Montgomery comes off the board there. I'd say this is a pretty fair draft so far. It doesn't seem like wide receivers or running backs are going more heavily one or the other. So now we're looking at guys like Marvin Jones, Brandon Cooks, Jamison Crowder. I feel like if we have to do a flex play, we want somebody that's pretty consistent. So I think we're going to go Jamison Crowder here. Having him and Edelman gives us a consistent baseline for the year. We got Michael Thomas. So we have a pretty safe wide receiver core, I'd say. And then we have Odell for like an upside pick. So overall, I think it's a pretty solid wide receiver core with Michael Thomas, Odell, Julian Edelman, and Jamison Crowder. Then obviously we got Kelsey at tight end. And Le'Veon Bell and Nick Chubb, they're not like, I wouldn't consider either one of them running back ones. Chubb to me is like a high-end running back 2. Bell's kind of like a mid-tier running back 2 at this point in his career. So I think overall we got a pretty solid start to the draft. Obviously we still need a quarterback for the starting lineup. So we got typical guys we've been picking in this range with Anthony Miller and Preston Williams. We got more wide receivers than running backs now, so maybe we look at a running back flyer here. So we could take a shot on like a Jordan Howard or a Ronald Jones. Let's try Ronald Jones this time. See who comes back there with us. So J.K. Dobbins went off the board. He was kind of somebody I was looking at with my next pick. Jordan Howard's still here. I think we're going to take Jordan Howard too. So we got kind of somebody who's safe and then the upside pick with Ronald Jones. Seemed like a Duke Johnson, a Marlon Mack, Antonio Gibson, Zach Moss. So this is a pretty good group too. You could get Marlon Mack, somebody that's probably going to perform a little bit towards the beginning of the year. You could go Duke Johnson or like Antonio Gibson or Moss with upside there. I think we'll go with Duke Johnson again. I don't know if I completely trust David Johnson yet this year. Zach Moss went off the board there. Looks like tight ends are getting pretty thin. Quarterbacks, there's still a couple guys here left in this range of Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, and Aaron Rodgers range. And then you get Cam Newton after that. So I think we're still safe there. Tight end, I'm not really crazy about any of these guys. Gronk's actually dropping in this draft. Fan, I'm not too crazy about with all the other options they brought in this offseason. Hockenson, I think, is a better play for 2021. Like, he might have some upside week to week this year. Dallas Goedert, he's still kind of the backup. Jonas Smith has upside. Doyle could have some upside. Then we got like Ebron down there. So in this spot, maybe you take like a high upside flyer like Alexander Madison here. If Cook gets hurt or decides to hold out, then he could be useful. Quarterback is still not moving the needle. So we could look at a wide receiver, somebody with a high upside, or I think we're just going to take Stafford here because I feel like the quarterback run was coming. We took Stafford, then there's about 3 other quarterbacks that went off after that. So we got 2 more bench spots left. Pretty much got a good stable of running backs on the bench, so maybe we look for a wide receiver here. Deshaun Jackson's still here. We'll take a shot on him. It's a little bit later than he's been going lately in these mocks. Michael Pittman Jr. went off the board there. He's been somebody we can go going after a little bit. Eric Ebron went off as well there. Jonas Smith, Ian Thomas. So this is like where we could take like a Paris Campbell, Brian Edwards, Jalen Hurd, somebody like that. We'll take Brian Edwards. We'll go over our team real quick. So actually we got an A+ in this draft. So this worked out real well for us, I guess. We have Matthew Stafford, Nick Chubb, Le'Veon Bell, Michael Thomas, Odell Beckham Jr., Julian Edelman, Travis Kelce, Jamison Crowder, Ronald Jones, Jordan Howard, Duke Johnson, Alexander Madison, Deshaun Jackson, and Brian Edwards. So I think overall it's a pretty solid team. It's got a good baseline, so it's not going to like just die any given week. Like your team's not just going to bust. But then it's got some upside play as well. Looking there, Fantasy Pros experts. So Yates and Tags both gave us an A+. Dan Harris gave us an A. They were all 97 and 96. So this is probably one of the best drafts we actually had grading out wise. So it'll be interesting to see what the other teams look like since we graded out so well. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Swift. So Swift's a little early there in the 4th for me. Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, Will Fuller. Like I said, Christian Kirk's still going way too early for me this year. Fuller, I don't mind. If you swap these guys around, it might be all right. Carson Wentz, James White, Zach Moss, Jalen Rager, Darrington Evans, Tom Brady, and D.D. Westbrook. I like some of his late round flyers there. Alvin Kamara, Josh Jacobs, that's not a bad pair. Lamar Jackson, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf, Michael Gallup, Kareem Hunt. So far that team's not too bad. John Brown the 8th, you already know what I think about that. Tariq Cohen's not bad there. Marlon Mack's not too bad. Austin Hooper's fine in that range. Alan Lazard, Jack Doyle, and Paris Campbell. Not a bad team overall. Then this guy went Zeke Gurley, which is something we kind of did in a couple of the drafts. DJ Moore, DJ Chark, Cortland Sutton. I think that's a pretty solid wide receiver core. I think Moore's a fine number 1, Chark's a good number 2, and if you get Sutton as your wide receiver 3, you're doing pretty well. Cam Akers, y'all know what I think about him already. So he went Akers and Ingram back to back. It seems like this happens a lot where there's 2 guys like that I don't like that people draft back to back. Daniel Jones in the 8th is really interesting. I think I kind of talked about him before. He's got a real bad schedule, especially to start the year, and he went ahead of guys like Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. I don't think, there's upside there, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. Maybe next year. Schedule's just a little too rough for him, especially at the beginning of the year. McCall Hardman, N'Keal Harry, DeAndre Washington, TJ Hockenson, Devonta Freeman, Cam Newton. Not too bad upside plays there as well. This guy went with the 0 RB strategy. Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, A.J. Brown, so pretty talented wide receiver core. Jonathan Taylor, Marquise Brown, and David Montgomery. Hayden Hurst in the 7th. That's a little early for him. Usually we've been getting him about the 9th or 10th if we've been taking him. Seems like tight ends were a little bit earlier, at least. Hurst moved up into that middle round group. J.K. Dobbins, Matt Breida, and Nyheim Hines. Hines here is a little early. Then he also took Gesicki and Hurst. I think they're both 2 guys that could break out this year, so I'm not too upset about that. Drew Brees, Jared Goff, and Steven Sims. Then, number 5th pick, he ended up getting Saquon at 5. If you guys are out there in your drafts, don't expect this to happen either, unless somebody's really in love with Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas or something like that. So he went Saquon, Galladay, Mike Evans. Mike Evans, I don't mind too much if he's your number 2 here. Melvin Gordon, Devontae Parker, Mark Ingram, Josh Allen, Darius Slayton, Sony Michel, Antonio Gibson, Jared Cook, Noah Fant, Alshon Jeffrey, Ryan Tannehill. So I'm not too crazy about that team in general. Then we had our team. Going to the next one after that. Delvin Cook, Chris Godwin, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones in the middle of the 3rd is pretty good value. James Conner, T.Y. Hilton, Russell Wilson, Hunter Henry. So up until that point, his team looks pretty decent. So he's got 3 decent running backs, 2 decent wide receivers. Then we go down to CeeDee Lamb, Preston Williams, Henry Ruggs, Keyshawn Vaughn, Blake Jarwin, Corey Davis, and Chris Thompson. So his 3rd wide receiver spot's going to struggle a little bit there. Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler. I kind of like pairing these 2 guys together because Henry's obviously got the workload value and Eckler has the PPR value and receptions. Then he paired them up with Robert Woods and Calvin Ridley. I like that pairing a lot. David Johnson, if he's your number 3 running back, can't be too upset there. Tyler Higbee in the 6th is too early. Deshaun Watson. Then he had Mike Williams and Golden Tate and Curtis Samuel. Getting a wide receiver 3 out of one of them guys shouldn't be too bad. Boston Scott, A.J. Dillon, 2 upside picks. Brandon Ayuk and Ian Thomas, a couple more upside picks. Overall, his team ain't too bad. Then we had DeAndre Hopkins, Patrick Mahomes, and Adam Thielen. Zach Ertz. So he kind of went 0 RB first 4 rounds. And then he had Devin Singletary. So I don't like Devin Singletary being your RB1, even if you're doing 0 RB strategy. Tyler Boyd is your wide receiver 3 is great. Debo Samuel pick here. It's still a little too early for him. I don't think you need to make this pick if you already got these 3 other wide receivers who are pretty consistent. You should be chasing running backs at this point. Mostert, Kerryon Johnson, and Darrell Henderson. I think those are 3 pretty good guys to take shots on if you're trying to look and find somebody that have good value running back later in the draft. Darius Geis is still floating up in there. You guys know about that already. Brashard Perriman, not crazy about. LaShawn McCoy, I don't think he should be drafted. And then Eric Ebron is last round flyer. I'm fine with that. Number 10 pick, he went Julio Jones, Kenyon Drake, Chris Carson, Tyler Lockett, Dak Prescott, Jarvis Landry. So, that part right there, I don't mind that at all. Then he dug into Marvin Jones, Sterling Shepard, Anthony Miller, Jerry Jeudy. I don't know why he took 5 receivers all in a row if he had Julio and Lockett. And especially Landry, you're pretty much set there. So I guess he's planning on using one of them guys as a flex play. Gronkowski, Justin Jackson, Damian Harris, and Jonas Smith. I like pairing Gronkowski and Smith there. Gronk in the 11th, I won't complain too much about. It's these other drafts where he's going to the 6th or 7th round, that's way too high. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Mixon, I like the upside a lot there, that pairing. Mark Andrews, like I said, he should be going closer to the 4th round. But at the end of the 3rd ain't too bad. Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, AJ Green, and Brandon Cooks. That could be a solid wide receiver core right there. Matt Ryan, Latavius Murray, Justin Jefferson, Tony Pollard, Chase Edmonds, Aaron Rodgers, and Michael Pittman Jr. So if our team was the number 1 team, I'd say this is probably the number 2 team, just looking at it so far. Then last team had Tyreek Hill, Miles Sanders, Leonard Fournette, Amari Cooper, Kyler Murray, Darren Waller. So not too bad a start. Emmanuel Sanders, like I said, he shouldn't be going that high. He should be going after round 10. Deontay Johnson, the ace, fair value. Philip Lindsay, Tevin Coleman, Robbie Anderson, Adrian Peterson, Dallas Goedert, and Sammy Watkins. So that's kind of to me, that's the average team as well. But overall, I think for the number 6 pick, we did pretty good. Obviously, we started out with 2 studs in Michael Thomas and Travis Kelce. Then we got Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham, Le'Veon Bell, Julian Edelman, Jamison Crowder, Ronald Jones, Jordan Howard, Duke Johnson, Alexander Madison, Matt Stafford, Deshaun Jackson, and Bryan Edwards. So I feel like overall we got a pretty good team. If you're picking the number 6 spot, maybe that's a good pick maybe that's a good spot to pick at this year. Normally I like being this kind of around the area I like being in. I like being in that 5th to 8th range, kind of in the middle of the draft, because then you don't have to worry about reacting to a big run or starting a big run or trying to reach for a player too much. You kind of have a couple guys in mind you'd like to see in between your next pick, and you only got 10 or 12 picks in between your pick. But overall, that's all we got for this video. If you guys liked and enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps the channel grow. It helps us continue to build the community we're trying to build here. If you guys have any comments about this video, anything you'd like to see in the future, just leave it down in the comments below, or you can get a hold of me at CoachCraigSports@gmail.com. You can also check me up on the Coach Craig Sports Facebook page. I also recommend getting into the fantasy football discussion group on Facebook as well. I'll leave links to all this down below. If you're a new or current subscriber and you haven't already hit the notification bell, please do so. Let you know every time we upload a video up to the channel. So this weekend I'll be doing the number 7 pick video. Not sure if it'll be tomorrow or Sunday. And then Monday we'll be doing the fantasy baseball recap for the week for my teams as well. And then after that, next week we'll be doing picks 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then hopefully we get back to 1. Just depending on how it all spaces out. Otherwise, 1 might be the next week. If there's anything else you guys like to see on the channel going into this fantasy football season for 2020, just let me know. But with that being said, that's all we got for the rest of today's video. Hope you guys all enjoyed, found this information useful, and have a great rest of your day.